Okay, everyone. Today I am trying to work more on a drawing, or I've already attempted. Uh, Something a bit different. First of all, I had started this drawing some time ago, and I was only able to complete this initial sketch, and then I filed it away in my folder, one of my folders, that, for later. I've been meaning to draw more mythological characters, and just so people know, this is the Blemmyes of Strabo. Yes, I know how it looks like it's spelled. Blemmyes. Primarily seen in the medieval illuminated manuscripts. Yeah, but England is not where this symbol or this creature actually originated. Apparently, it was also in the Middle East, Africa, Ethiopia, stuff like that. If I'm wrong, please correct me. So today I added this posterior 3/4 view, and I began this concerning his bow and his archery skills. First of all, I'm going to get the elephant out of the room. There's a clear difference between these two sketches. I try to keep the poses the same. First of all, he's not as broad in the shoulders in the original sketch as he is here in the posterior. And obviously there's more hair over here to cover his extremities. And considering the fact how this kind of creature, if it were to function in the real world, if it actually existed, he obviously does not have a head. So he doesn't have a brain. He doesn't have the 7 vertebral column, trachea, stuff like that in order to intake air. I would assume if this thing were to exist at all, I would assume that his torso, his chest area would be a lot bigger, at least to house the brain. And he does need a means of intaking air. The original illustrations of him, he doesn't have a nose, and the same is true here. I didn't give him one. I just conformed the upper mandible to the sternum and turned his clavicle into like the glabella, or the eyebrow muscle, if you can even call it a muscle. Yeah, the clavicle is still there, but I would imagine like some kind of way, if it's even possible, to have like a layered muscle on top of it. It's kind of weird. I got to rethink some of this. I would assume that he, in order to breathe, he would probably use his neck hole, just outright. Now I'm waiting on to finish this sketch and several other sketches. I have questions regarding how this is done for someone who doesn't have a head. I imagine that he just lowered the bow and arrow to like his eye level on his chest, but I was wondering if that was even possible anatomically. And AI Copilot seems to say no, but AI isn't always truthful. So I'm reaching out to a fellow YouTuber, and I'm waiting his answer on that. Somebody I know who's like really, really knowledgeable about weapons, especially archery. So as far as the Blemmyes go, they are essentially a race of people that are supposed to exist like in the African area. And yeah, on its face, it seems like a very, I don't know if YouTube will allow me to say it. And yeah, I can see where that comes from. But considering how the origins might be in the Middle East and the Ethiopian areas and stuff like that, it might not necessarily be. I would assume, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm willing to be corrected. I would assume that the European travelers and missionaries that went over there, that the people would tell them about these creatures. And they were like, oh, shoot, we got to be careful of these things. And when they went home, they tried to relay the information either as best they could or just rewrote it entirely about what they were supposed to be. But, yeah. According to one website, these things are supposed to symbolize, like, the unknown, stuff like that, like people's, wondering about, like, distant lands and stuff like that. And, kind of thinking about, does anybody remember Super Mario? Well, obviously. The game Super Mario Galaxy, in, like, the ghostly galaxy area, people remember seeing something they call alien trees. And I was wondering if, because they look similar, if it was based on the Blemmyes creature. I don't know if anybody's ever thought about it like that. They probably did, but it was it was interesting whenever I kind of put two and two together. But anyway, that's all I got for this video. God bless you.